Information fueled.
Opinion driven.
This is Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into your Wednesday, January 8th of 2025. You know, one of my favorite all-time books, Tuesdays with Maury, and one of my favorite segments is going to be Wilson Wednesdays here on Nashville's Morning News. Good morning to you, Brian Wilson. How are you?
I'm doing very well. And I'm, this retirement thing's working out really great. I think I'm going to take some time off and go down to the Gulf of America and spend some time. I'm really looking forward to it. The Gulf of America.
So from what I understand, we'll just launch there. So from what I understand, and I have not done a deep dive into that particular part of the massive press conference yesterday, but from what I understand, Donald Trump, he can, if he so chooses, work to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America.
Well, it is. Again, I guess he has the authority to do it. I've never really figured out how we got the name Gulf of Mexico. Probably it was just, what it got called by the early explorers, and we just kept it. So you can call it whatever you want to, but I love the idea. Everybody's talking about Donald Trump and how he wants to take over Greenland. He's worried about the Panama Canal and all that. I got to tell you, there is some method to his madness, which I think is very interesting. Number one, we really need to make sure that we have clean and clear passage through the Panama Canal.
Yep.
That is a national security concern. If we can't get our ships through, commerce comes to a real halt. It really will cause all kinds of problems. We can't get our military ships through there. We really need to have passage, and it needs to be reasonable. And it sounds like over the years it's gotten unreasonable. And so I see him basically, do I expect that we're going to go to war over Panama? No. Do I sense that he's brushing them back and telling them, don't get in too deep in bed with the Chinese. Remember us. We're the reason you have the Panama Canal. And they're having some very serious discussions about renegotiating, which is what that was all about.
That's the whole thing, Brian, is he just wants to renegotiate. He does talk about China a lot. As you know, China runs a couple of ports on either side of the canal. China has done a lot of the infrastructure work there on the Panama Canal through the Belt and Road Initiative that China does. But ultimately, Trump, number one, as he should, does see China as a threat. And number two, it is all part of a negotiation, and I think that's
exactly
probably part of Greenland as well. I want to play you this.
Well, can I just say on the Greenland thing, I'm completely for it. I've been practicing the pronunciation of the capital of Greenland.
Okay.
Nuuk.
It's Nuuk.
Nuuk?
Nuuk.
Who knew that Nuuk was the capital? Anybody know that right off the top? I did not know that.
Nuuk.
Nuuk. But there's some logic there as well.
Yep.
Basically, if we control
Nuuk,
we won't get nuked. That's the,
Is that what it is?
Well, I mean, there's strategic importance to it. It really, there is. And you know what? I don't think it's a crazy idea. We've talked about this. This is Harry S. Truman tried to buy Greenland. Mm-hmm. So it's not there's a Democrat who was very much in favor of it. He saw the strategic importance of it then, and it hasn't gotten, any better for us in that regard. We really could use that land for national security reasons, but also mineral reasons.
Yeah,
so,
they got uranium out there and all kinds of minerals, and you're right from a geopolitical standpoint. I think Donald Trump's main reason why he wants Greenland is because China's been looking at it. And so part of what he wants to do is he wants to beat them to the punch. And I think it's also great that I'm sure it was just a coincidence, but as all this is going on, Donald Trump Jr. goes on a trip to Greenland. I mean, to me, that's
not a coincidence. That happened on purpose. It did. And I love that. I mean, seriously, the Danish people, it's owned by Denmark, allegedly, and they say that the people in Greenland have free rule to do as they wish. Well, if a great number of them wish to change, then who's to say you couldn't make a deal? Listen, crazier things have been talked about, and I think this is not a bad idea. Now, the Canada thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he just has a lot of fun picking on Canada, and I don't think that's serious. But again, it's an ends to a means to an end is what it is. It is one of these things where they're trying to make sure that they can renegotiate the trade deal. So they want to get them sort of off balance. You always want your opponent a little off balance. And this thing about, we could just make it the 51st state.
No.
Absolutely trolling, but it brings to the point that really we do subsidize Canada in many ways, and we do take care of Canada with regard to national security agreements, and maybe Canada needs to be reminded of just how important the United States is to its economy, and I think that's sort of what he's doing there. So there's always there's an ulterior motive behind everything he does, and he's crazy like a fox, man, I'm telling you.
Well, I think, with Canada, you've got Justin Trudeau. He is stepping down. And the Liberal Party in Canada doing horribly in the polling. So
in shambles,
yeah. So the Conservatives are going to take over. Even the Conservative who is, due to most people say Pierre I forget what his name is. I don't have it in front of me, but the Conservative who a lot of people are saying will be the new prime minister. He has even come out and said there's no way that Canada is going to become a state of the United States. But he also says that our economies could blend and work very well together.
It could be a big security arrangement, if nothing else, which would really be in our best interest. It really, truly would.
Yeah, and for Donald Trump, mission accomplished. That is exactly what he wanted to do. You know what I love, and this is one of my favorite audio bites of the morning. It is Dana Bash. I don't know if you saw this, and I'm going to play it after the traffic. Dana Bash and her response to yesterday's press conference was absolutely hysterical. I'm going to get your comment on that coming up. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Weather today, a high of 32, low of 21, right now 24. No rain or snow in the forecast until Friday, when we're talking about 3 to 6 inches, depending on where you are. We'll keep you updated. The complete forecast, by the way, coming up at 7:30 here on Nashville's Morning News. Brian Wilson is joining us. It is Wilson Wednesday here on Super Talk 99.7. So, Brian, Dana Bash, this was her reaction yesterday to the Donald Trump press conference.
Some new information about what he intends to do, or at the very least is not ruling out when he takes office, including not ruling out a military invasion to conquer Greenland, the Panama Canal, and perhaps the annexation of the country of Canada.
She looks so befuddled, and she looks just so utterly confused and disturbed by this whole thing.
Well, he would have been stupid to have said, "No, we're not going to do that." What he's saying is, in my estimation, and the question was, are you going to have economic sanctions against these people? Are you going to use military? So it was sort of two things there, and so that first of all, the question was lumped into two categories, was lumped into one thing: economic, sanctions or military action. Well, either one of those things is a possibility when you're talking about, a potential war with China. We have to go defend the Panama Canal. So military action might be used. Will he bring economic sanctions or penalties against some of these countries to get what he wants? Sure, he might do that.
He threatened Denmark with sanctions yesterday.
Denmark.
So anyway,
the all-powerful country of Denmark. They say, well, we really appreciate our national security arrangement with the United States. However, Greenland's not for sale. Well, we'll see about that.
The people of Greenland may have something to say about that.
Yeah, but it's fun to watch, and again, you got to understand that everything that comes out of his mouth is all to an end. And the end is negotiating what's in the best interest of the United States.
He's setting the table.
And he's setting the table for that. And people may think it's a little out there, and it's something we haven't been talking about, but none of these things is a bad idea. A better security arrangement with Canada, in our interest. Having, some kind of better relationship with Greenland or owning it outright would be in our national security interest. Protecting the Panama Canal is in our national security interest. So those are all things that people have not been talking about, but he's been thinking about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And he was talking about the Panama Canal. He's been talking about it for quite some time. You are headed to Washington, D.C.
I am.
Now, the last time you were in Washington, D.C., January 6th of 2021, a little bit of excitement. So I'm assuming you're looking forward to covering, Brian, yet another president being sworn in, a presidential inauguration. This is obviously a big deal. This is how many have you done?
Well, I did every inauguration in Washington, starting with H.W. Bush. I was there for the last 2 years of the Reagan administration in 86 through 88. But then I covered Bush, then I covered, Bubba, and I covered W, and I covered Obama's first inauguration, which was, historic in that I've never been, well, number one, never been as cold as I was that particular day. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But I never forget seeing that wave of humanity, 1 million people on the National Mall, and covered that one. That was just a spectacular sight to see on that given day. Even if we weren't particularly thrilled about the outcome of the election, it was really something to see from a historic standpoint. So now I'm going back for Donald Trump's second inauguration, and we'll be providing reports throughout the day, starting with the National's Morning News, and we'll be on all the programs throughout the day, bringing you the very latest. The inauguration, the swearing in, takes place at 11 o'clock our time.
Will you also be covering all of the swearing by the Democrats as this is going on?
Well, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I haven't really walked the halls of Capitol Hill in a while, and it's going to be very interesting to do so. May I just say, Congressman John Rose, because this has been sort of like, well, we made the decision. The final decision was only made a few days ago, and it's not that far off. So they've been very helpful in getting some of the logistics worked out so that we can be there. But you're going to get a real insight from somebody who's covered a bunch of these things. And, look, I still think that maybe that's not even the biggest story. Being sworn in is not the big story of the day. It's what he does when he gets to the Oval Office, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, after the parade. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works out as well.
Do you remember, I probably shouldn't go down and keep it short, but do you remember his first day in office last year, or like last term, way back when there was the argument about crowd size?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about that this time around. I think that Donald Trump coming into office this time around, there is a completely different vibe about Donald Trump. Number one, because his policies, the first 4 years, the first term, pretty good, actually. And we had a better economy and so on and so forth. But just how awful Joe Biden has been. I think it puts his first 4 years, Donald Trump's first 4 years, in a completely different perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that press conference, if you watched it yesterday, it was pretty wide-ranging, and he stood there for, I guess, the better part of an hour and talked and took questions. He's no spring chicken. But look at him and compare him to Joe Biden, who can barely put together a sentence these days. It's very sad. I really do believe, Dan, when all is said and done, that there are going to be a lot of stories that come out after January 20th about just how bad it was in the Biden White House. And that's a shame that we couldn't count on the cabinet to do its constitutional duty and remove him, because he really, quite frankly, even at this moment, is not up to the task of being the commander. No,
you look at the presidential portrait of Joe Biden, and it's actually not of Joe Biden. It's like 5 or 6 other people that were actually running the country.
Yeah, that's right. The committee will be standing behind him in the picture. That's right.
There you go, Brian. Thank you for the courtesy laugh. I thought it was funny. Anyway, Brian Wilson, looking forward to speaking to you here for the big inauguration, January 20th, and we'll probably speak before then. But have a great day.
Yeah. And I might be on the road the next time we speak. So,
all right, very good. Well, then,
Brian, I want to know about the dress wear, like who's wearing what, and Melania. Is she looking spectacular? Like those are the things that matter.
Well, All I can tell you is, this is the fashion has been a big deal here at the house because Cabana Wife is making the trip with me, and there are events that we have to dress up for, and quite frankly, I'm getting a lot of questions about, well, what would be appropriate to wear here, or what kind of pants should I wear? Do you think it would be all right if I wore my? I'm hearing all that. So
look,
we're
malls.
going through that at my house.
There's malls in D.C. You'll be able to buy something.
Well, hold it. No, wait a minute. That's the last thing we need to be doing.
Joan, I don't know if anybody told Brian, but he's actually not getting paid for this. So,
really? Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, actually, technically, I'm still on the payroll. So,
you go.
By the way, Joan is going to ask for very big details on exactly who the designer is for Melania's dress. Right. All those kinds of things.
How tall the heel is, because she always wears a tall one.
I'll be on alert for that information. I promise you.
All right.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. We'll talk soon. It is 7:23 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan, what is it about you women and heels?
Well, I mean, we like them.
We short men don't like heels. Now, Brian doesn't have that problem, of course. But yours truly, I have a personal irritation with heels because every woman I've ever married or dated just love to wear their heels.
How come I always see Amy in heels?
Because she likes to make me feel inadequate and insecure.
I see.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we should probably do the tease now. It's 7:23. Joan Jones, what's coming up?
We'll tell you what's being done ahead of the arrival of some snow here on Friday. Also, there is new life breathed into the effort to end billions of dollars in payments to the Taliban. Those stories coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, very good, Joan. Thank you. Coming up at 7:35, we are going to, there's been some updates now since we talked about it in the 5. Is it 4 different fires now that are burning in Southern California? We're going to talk about that. And a lot of people asking a lot of questions about Gavin Newsom and the mayor of Los Angeles and their preparedness for just this kind of situation. So we've got that story for you. Coming up at 7:35 on Nashville's Morning News, Dan Mandis here. I always recommend Mark Spain here in Nashville because I trust that they'll sell your home hassle-free with a strong all-cash offer. Now, they've been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years now, and they've been serving over 58,000 families. And with all those clients, Mark Spain Real Estate is the #1 most reviewed real estate company in America. And listen to this. 12,500 5-star reviews. Now, you can trust my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home fast and for maximum profit and, the least amount of hassle. That is the guaranteed offer. There's a reason why they've got so much success. It is because of that guaranteed offer, a quick sale and maximum profit. So call them, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. Online anytime, markspain.com, and start packing.